Hi, and welcome to Fox News. My name is Sean Heineken, and on tonight's episode, special election coverage, we've got the 2014 presidential nominee TUF with us today. Let's go ahead and welcome to the studio. TUF, how are you?
Hey Heineken, thanks for having me on tonight. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you. Listen, I'm going to go ahead and jump right to the point. I got a couple of questions for you. I'm just going to go ahead and ask them and then give you the opportunity to give your rebuttal to them. Starting with some of the new features that have been introduced to debate.org. The recent forum discussions revealed that some of the newer features on DDO might be taking away from the true function of the site, which is to debate. Undeniably, debate participation, voter participation, it's dwindling. And there's a purist sentiment out there that these new features, the polling and the opinion questions, they're taking focus away from the true nature of DDO and really kind of ruining the vibe. Do these purist sentiments resonate with you at all?
I can agree with those statements to a degree. I don't think that the opinions or the poll section needs to be completely removed in order to get more priority back onto debating and voting. Nor do I think it's absolutely necessary to have an update to make the debating and voting a better aspect for the site. However, I do think it does start partially within the community. The community is unhappy because there is a big priority placed onto the opinions in the polls, so part of this would be having a president who could work with Juggle into advertising more stuff along having quality debates and great voting. And
Sure.
right now that doesn't seem in their top priority. I think it is possible to convince them to making that their top priority. And if not, I do think that there are other options of getting priority back into debating and voting. And some of those options do fall in with the plans that I have set forth in my platform. A lot of it does have to do with getting a lot more member support into those functions. And that is what I do plan on doing as president.
All right, excellent. My next question is about the banning policy. Many people have voiced their anger at the relaxed banning policy, which might be contributing to the boldness of some of the flame wars. While heated discussions are intrinsic to DDO, some conversation should simply not exist within the context of the website. How would you change the implementation of the banning policy, or would you change it at all?
That is a great question. I know that there has been a lot of interest placed into banning policies, which is why the campaign has been brought up twice now. But the thing is, I have tried to stay away from implementing a banning policy in my campaign because I don't really think it is relevant to my responsibilities as president. Nor do I think there's much I can do to impact it. Also, I do think it is redundant to a lot of my goals that I do want to accomplish as president. Implementing a banning policy is really something that a moderator in and of itself should take care of. And I don't think that being a president is really going to increase the influence much in having a moderator be more strict in their banning policies. I think almost any member can have a heart-to-heart conversation with Airmax and suggest him to increase his policies if they don't agree with them. I personally like the way Airmax handles his current banning policies, and I can see where some of the issues have been more controversial and maybe he should have used different judgment. But ultimately, I don't think a president should be advocating those type of things in their platform because the effect that they can overall have on the banning policy is very minimal as compared to that as a normal user. As a president, I do think that we can avoid having a stricter banning policy altogether by placing deterrence in the first place.
Okay. Now, recently you've been accused of some mild misconduct by another members in the forum. The charge against you claims that you are unfit for the executive office because you lack a core value or character quality of a president. How would you defend against the charges that your temper is a liability?
If there's anything that I've learned from this election, it is that it doesn't pay to be right. I do think that all the feedback that I have received so far, even the feedback that is in opposition to what my campaign is, I think it is important to look at those in light of what they are and try to implement them into my own policies to the best of my own abilities. I do think that there is inherent value in the things that members who have expressed opposition in my policies. I do think that if I look into those more deeply and see the side effects of what they can actually do for me, then I could have a more successful presidency. Um, Ultimately, in the end, I think I need to act more professional in how I deal with such occurrences, such that that initial reaction is expressed.
Okay, excellent. Now, you've been working on creating new content for DDO, specifically features for team debates, which is something that I've been looking forward to myself since it was implemented on a different website, edebate.com. Um, Now, you've certainly heard that the lack of user-requested updates have resulted in frustration, which in fact resulted in the creation of the PHP script for edebate.com. Um, how close is your project to implementation, and how does it compare to the competitor?
Yes, I have been working on my own updates for the site. I do think they are looking pretty good right now. However, before I officially would submit anything to Juggle, I would need more user feedback. I have received quite a bit so far in messages that I have talked with people in, but before I would officially present anything to Juggle, I would need a lot more communication with the members. Right now, I've been really focused on campaigning that I haven't been able to ask this as much as I should have, but as soon as I get more feedback from members of what they want these functions to look like, is the sooner that I can present them to Juggle and the sooner that they can potentially be implemented on the site. As far as having them compared to another website, I know that there's a lot of people who have been transferring over to eDebate. I do think that eDebate is a great website, and I don't discourage anybody from going and checking it out. However, I think that it would be nice to have those same features that were implemented on eDebate here on debate.org, and I think it would be more successful for Juggle as well as their users. People like the user base here on debate.org, and the same community is hard to find anywhere else. That's how it's been with debate.org for years. The community value that we have here is unparalleled to any other site that I've ever seen in my life. With that said, I do think that having those updates implemented into that same community is ultimately going to be better for Juggle and for the user base.
Okay, excellent. Now, do you have any other projects in mind for DDO in the near future?
Some of the biggest things that I'm going to work on is getting site direction back onto voting and debating. So yes, I do plan on continuing doing voting competitions. So far, it has been working out very well. This last competition has given me more votes than any other competition that I've ever started for the voting competitions. And I do plan on looking into other ways to increasing voting. Some of these can be taken from member feedback. However, what I have been doing so far is working, so I'm not going to stop that. Going on debating competitions. I'm going to make these more formalized debating competitions, sort of like the way that Air Max had his first debate competition. That had 4 different parts where there was different levels and different categories in which people could join in the competition. I like that idea. I like that setup. There was a more complicated, higher ranking competition for members who are a little bit better debaters, as well as for novice debaters. I like having different categories set up and pushing them as a more official basis of a debate tournament. That is something that I'll probably replicate in my presidency as well. And the third biggest thing that I'm planning on working on is member appreciation. I know other members like BSH1 have suggested different member appreciation updates as well. However, I think it should be more along the lines of a weekly thing rather than a monthly thing. Ideally, I'd like to have members vote on another member to be the member of the week in certain categories. There can be a member of the week in overall conduct, a member of the week in voter, and a member of the week in the debater category. So that way people can really feel appreciated for the work that they're doing, the good things that they're doing, and hopefully that will encourage people to do more of those things to the ability that they have been awarded already.
Okay, excellent. Do you have anything that you wish to address before we move on with our show there. I just got notice that President Obama has accused Assad of crossing the red line yet again, so we need to cover that here shortly.
Last thing I want to say before we close tonight is that I really like where the candidates are for this election. I don't think there is any losing in this competition. If I lose, then I have a lot of respect for BSH1 and FET. They're both great guys, and I think they have a lot to offer to the site. The reason I am running though is because I do think that I can be the best utility to debate.org, and I hope that you guys do vote for me. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on, sir. It's been a pleasure having you. I hope we have you on again sometime. This is really good whiskey.
Yes, thank you for having me on the show tonight, Heineken.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
All right, folks. Let's get a word from our sponsor.
When you drink better than that, you enter into a binding agreement to not act like a f***ing idiot, jumping around the bar like a f***ing kangaroo, you f***ing moron, who doesn't know what the f*** they're talking about, like a f***ing clown, who f***ing doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. If you can't act like an adult, don't drink the f***ing that.